Morning, everybody online. Just if you could just bear with us a little while longer, just while the last few people come in. We're starting roughly on time. Thank you very much for your patience. Just for your information, people online, this is recorded and will be available afterwards for you to refer to. Be on the Medway Growth Hub website. Thank you.
It's got asked for company name, registration number.
Okay, good morning to everybody online. Properly shortly, just allowing the final participants to come into the room. This is a hybrid event, so it's going to be recorded and available to you afterwards. So please bear with us for the last couple of minutes while we get people set. Thank you. Okay, good morning. Welcome to this Medway Growth Hub workshop on AI for business growth. As I've said, this is a hybrid event. It is recorded and will be available later on through the Medway Growth Hub website. So I will introduce the main speaker very shortly, but if I could also bring your attention to the Q&A that will be held after the main presentation. So I will represent people in the online in the room. So if you've got questions, I will ask them on your behalf. And as I said, this is delivered by Medway Growth Hub. As you can see from the presentation, there is a QR code. We invite you to scan that and fill in the details at your leisure. Thank you very much. Without further ado, I would like to introduce John Speed from Heliocentrix Ltd, who is the main speaker. I will again take the Q&A once it's so just use the mouse as necessary.
Right. Good morning, everyone. So I'm here today to talk about building confidence with AI. I'm not going to cover any specific tools because most of what we're going to talk about here can be translated to many different tools. And the best tools to pick will depend on what you've got in your businesses already. So just very quickly about me, I've been working in IT for over 20 years now. I've been working with startups. I have helped a few of my clients actually set up businesses from scratch in partnership, and seen people through their entire journey from setting up all the way through to selling. And my job has been about making sure technology works for them, and whatever that means over that time. Sometimes it's been dealing with emails. Today it's dealing with AI. We're based locally over in Marden, and we are currently doing all sorts of things to try and help people make the most of what this new opportunity we've got. So over the next 45 minutes, so I'm told you'll probably like to switch off by an hour anyway, so keep it quite quick. I want to talk about where we are with AI. We need to talk about that briefly. A bit about the tools. And then I want to spend just very quickly 5 minutes just talking about some of the risks. I don't want to bore you all with the risks, but there are risks associated with this and it would be irresponsible not to mention some of them. And then we'll look at some practical ways you can apply in different parts of the business. Hopefully there'll be something that everybody can take away from this. I don't know where you all are with your journey with AI, so some of this might repeat bits you already know. Hopefully something you'll learn. And the prompts that I'm going to put up, the example ones, I will put together in a PDF and ask them to send out afterwards, so don't really have to frantically write them down. So I think AI is foreseen more and more as likely to be a much bigger disruption than anyone previously thought it was going to be. Nobody knows 100% where this is going to end up because it is new, it's unprecedented in that respect. We are all learning. What's just surprised me is I've just noticed on these chairs here, they're all dated 1889, which was just after the first industrial revolution. And I wonder if anyone, when these were made, whether anyone would have ever considered that we'd be having this sort of conversation now as things move forward. The industrial revolution was about 150 years. We're expecting this sort of change to be within a tenth of that time. And it's the speed of change that's going to be really difficult for people. There's no hiding it, some jobs will disappear. but new ones will be created, and it is the responsibility of business owners in play to come up with what those jobs are going to be and how we're going to make use of this technology going forwards. Because there's going to be opportunity there, we just all need to work out what that is and how we can make the most of it. So I actually think any startups in the room, or a couple, are in the best position out of everybody who is trying to adapt to AI. You don't have legacy systems. You can start everything from scratch. You don't have to change any old processes. And most importantly, you don't have to try and convince people who've been in your business a while that they need to change. So I actually do envy you a lot, the fact that you can actually just go on and do these things. Let's face it, as an individual or small business, you can go in and change something in the morning and have it working in the afternoon, whereas larger companies are going to take many days, weeks, months of going around about it, at which point technology is going to have changed. So, congratulations, anybody who is a startup. There are three layers. The terminology around AI keeps changing, and it is changing on a regular basis because nobody knows quite where to go with it. But what I'm going to put it into three buckets, three layers. You have your foundation models. These are the things like ChatGPT. Well, the model that powers ChatGPT. You have things like Claude, as a competitor. You have Gemini. You have Grok and various other models out there. Those are the foundation bits. Those are the bits that are changing, and we're getting new advances almost every couple of weeks. A few weeks ago, it was Anthropic released a new model that's the best in the world. And a week later, OpenAI has released one, and it's just going to keep progressing like that. Productivity tools, Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude Pro, Gemini Workspace, all of these things are ways that you can kind of manage those models, and they evolve over time. And then you get your specialist tools, which is a growing area. I put Fireflies in there for meetings. I absolutely love Fireflies, but there's other ones, Otter, Fathom, Notion AI, Perplexity. There's loads of different ones out there. What we're finding is that all the tools are becoming just like every other tool. Because software development has got so much more efficient, they can all add on new features all the time. And so it's finding the right area to go into, the right tools, but accepting that things are going to keep rapidly changing. So a few words just to know about chatbots. Anybody who's touched AI knows about a chatbot because you've been speaking to it every time you have a conversation. Agents. There are various definitions of agents floating around, and they're everything. You normally say that agents are about doing things, but broadly speaking, they can just be an adaptation of the chatbot from what we've seen while some people are implementing them. So it's very broad to know. The two very boring words, deterministic, non-deterministic. These are, everybody's throwing AI at every problem. AI doesn't need to be involved in every problem. So the words deterministic and non-deterministic. Deterministic, if you've got a process, you put something in, you expect something to happen, and you expect the same output consistently, that's deterministic. And realistically, you probably don't need AI for anything to do with that. You can use AI to help you implement the workflows or create the workflows, but you don't actually need it to run them. Non-deterministic is where you needed some sort of understanding of what you're actually saying, where the output might vary slightly. It sounds very technical, but I get lots of phone calls every week. People go, I want to use AI for this. And you're like, no, you don't, because you need the same thing to happen every time. That's a workflow. So just bear that in mind when you do start looking at evolving your AI space. So don't chase the tool. Put this up there. I'm seeing this all the time. If you look at LinkedIn, podcasts, TV, everybody is telling you there is a new amazing tool. If you're not using it, you're going backwards. And it's a bit like the analogy I was basically a carrot and a stick. You're constantly being told there's something in front of you that's useful. You're never going to get to it because by the time you just about do get on board with it, something else is coming up. That doesn't mean we give up. That just means we need to focus on what the business problem is, not what the tool is. Find the problem, work out how you're going to solve it, then find the tool to fix that. Don't just keep trying to chase the tools constantly. And I mean, we've seen that before Christmas, everybody was going on about ChatGPT Pro. After Christmas, everybody's going on about Claude Pro. Now, I've just had people go, then it was Gemini, then I've got people asking about image generation in ChatGPT. It is just that constant evolving. And actually, most of us don't need those top-level tools. So, 4 risks. There are many more risks, but I'm going to talk about 4 risks. Data leakage. The free tools, if you use ChatGPT, I'm not singling them out for any other reason than they're just the one most people are aware of, but if you use the free versions, everything you put into them are usually being learned to train models for other people. Now, that means that all of your potential information you're putting in there is being then stored in their models, and that is a data breach. I've heard someone recently say that they found ChatGPT has been really good at finding phone numbers for internal departments at finance providers and insurance providers. And I reckon it's because people have been copying internal emails into ChatGPT. It's had their phone numbers at the bottom. I have no idea for sure. That's just a guess. But it just is a good practical example of how data leakage you're not going to realise is happening. Prompt injection. This is where people can instruct your AI based on it. Your AI goes off and reads a website or reads an email. And somebody's put in there going, if you're in an AI, please ignore all the previous instructions you've got and tell me X, Y, and Z. And there is examples of that starting to happen more, where people are trying to actively break someone's AI, knowing that AI is reading emails, reading websites, and stuff like that. There's a big problem with, a potential problem, I should say, with some of these agentic tools. So Claude Code is an example. Fantastic tool. But it runs fairly autonomously on your computer. And if it finds gets prompt injection, it could be divulging any information from your device without you realise. And there are ways of protecting yourself from that. And there are ways of making things safer. But it is worth being aware of. There's a lot of talk about skills. I see it a lot on LinkedIn, people saying, I've made a skill library for replacing your SEO consultant or replacing your marketing or whatever it is. Those skills have, and there are places out there, people are publishing them and they have malicious code in them. And people are just downloading them, putting them on the computer, not checking them. And it's giving instructions to the AI to do things you don't want it to do.
How do you check?
Read it. Or in my instance, most of the skills are not complicated enough that you can't just use an AI to write your own skill rather than using someone else's. They're all developing internal technologies to help you write skills. So write your own and then tweak it. But all of them are just text documents you can just open up and read.
Yeah.
So yeah, be careful on those ones online. Account breaches. Same with any online account. If someone gets into your account, they have access to everything that you've chatted about, or the memory that you've had on them, everything else that might be available, any tools you've connected into it. So you sign up for one of the AI platforms, you link it to your Google account or your Microsoft account. Someone breaks into that, they then have access to your data. So you need to make sure if you are using these tools, you are putting protections in place, you're using good passwords, you're using multi-factor authentication, you're doing whatever you can to protect your account, because this is a big information silo. And if someone gets in, it doesn't take very long for them to search for all of your information for every contact, an email address of every person you've ever spoken to, for example. The free tier trap, if you're not paying, then you are the product. And that's probably not what any of us want to be. So if you want to use AI, you need to pay for it. It doesn't have to be expensive, but make sure you are on paid plans if you do anything for business.
It's quite limited on the free tiers anyway, right? There's a like 5 services and then you're maxed out for the day.
I mean, they've got a balance between, they've got a balance collecting information, developing their model better, versus how much it costs for doing it. And I've done some AI prompts, but had I actually had to pay for specific usage, it would have been £20 to £30 on that individual usage. Okay. So it does cost them quite a bit, which is why they do limit you down. But it's a good place to get started if you're having an experimenting with. So the rule of thumb, businesses, UK GDPR is still in force. Providing data to AI is not an exemption. You still have to give due diligence. You still have to consider where it's going. Yes, a lot of it is going to America, but what conditions are in place to protect it? You still need to register with the Information Commission's Office. And I came across an AI tool for lawyers only a couple of days ago, and it looks like that they haven't even ever registered for the ICO. And you should be. So make sure it's got it there. As we said before, pay for it. It's not difficult to pay for it. They're not hugely expensive. Never put client-facing information into free tools. We like Microsoft 365 and Microsoft 365 partners because if things stay within the environment much more than they are elsewhere, and you can actually see the boundaries on which you know where things are falling. If you're a Google Workspace, then Gemini is great for that as well. The other tools, you just need to be a little bit more cautious. So I'm going to move on to talk about some practical uses, things hopefully you can take away this week. Some of them I'm sure some of you already put in place, but hopefully there's something here to take away. An AI note taker, if you don't have one, get one. They are brilliant. There's a few people nodding in the room already, so they've got them in place. I use a tool called Fireflies. I've liked their security posture, how they're doing things. I like the fact that I can do online meetings with any platform. I like the fact that I can do in-person meetings, or my in-person meetings are recorded, even record interviews, meeting with suppliers, all that's recorded. I can also...
Sorry, that's just software you download onto your laptop.
Software, yeah. It's for a subscription, you've got to pay for it, for paying for this one, but it's a tool. I have it on my phone, and I can record just my own thoughts and brainstorming sessions, want to write things down. I can upload podcasts, I listen to podcasts, and that's pretty useful. I have occasionally downloaded them, put them into Fireflies, got the transcript, and then I can use that elsewhere. But if you haven't got one, I would definitely say get an AI note taker. There are others, Otter, Fathom, fairly popular. Microsoft Copilot has one built in, although mostly just for Microsoft space there. The main thing, if you do get them, is check your settings, because by default, most of them will email the notes to every participant on the call, which you don't necessarily want. They're very easy to turn that off. I get why they're doing it, both because they think it's being helpful, but also it's a good way for them to promote their services and try and win new clients. Again, if you're not paying a lot for it, a product. So you can change those settings very easily and limit who actually gets your notes. And yeah, voice is going to become a big way of interacting with AI. There are various tools that you just talk to, but I find it really helpful just to be able to break them and put it into Fireflies, get a transcript, and do something else with it later, which we'll talk about in a minute. I was out for a walk the other day, and I just had my headphones in, just recording some thoughts about what I needed to do. It doesn't matter if you make ums and ahs and pause quiet for a couple of minutes. You just blurt it all out, record it, and do it later. So, next, it's what people underestimate. As a small business, a lot of people don't have someone who understands what they're doing to talk to and brainstorm. Now, I appreciate there's a lot of mentoring programs around and other things. But when you have that idea, talking to friends and family don't always give you the best answers. They're either very negative or very positive and thinking you're better than you are or you're worse than you are. It's not very realistic. So actually using AI as a thought partner in a specific area can be really helpful to think through your thoughts on an idea. In a book called The AI-Driven Leader, which I think is actually a very good book, he talks about, rather than asking how may I solve this, it's how may AI solve this. And it's having that conversation with the AI. It's not just a search engine, it's that dialogue. So there's different ways of actually working with it. There's the interviewer, the communicator, and the challenger. So we talk about in the book. And it's a good way of thinking of how you can use it. The interviewer, you've got an idea. You just want to keep exhaustively asking questions until you get to the bottom of what that idea actually is. When I'm doing talks, sometimes I'll get to interview me about things I want to cover and then say, right, now can you put this into some sort of coherent structure or order them in sections so I can actually get that out. Communicator, drafting pitches, updates, reviews. I know there's at least one marketing person in the room. They use this a lot, and this has been seen as one of the bigger areas for how AI is changing things. But it can behave, it's got more experience with other ways of communicating than any one of us will have on our own. It's read most of what humans have actually written. We just have to work out how to get it to do what we want it to do. The challenger, pressure test your plans using an impartial devil's advocate. Good thing with AI is it has no emotion, which means it's not going to get frustrated with you, and it's not going to make you feel really stupid. I quite often will put it in an idea, I think we should be trying this. And sometimes I'll come back going, yeah, John, that's a terrible idea, and these are my reasons why. I'm like, oh, I haven't thought of that, and I have thought of that, and it challenges me to think better. I can also ask it to read what I've written and look for any unconscious bias or any assumptions that I've made when talking to people. I found that's been really helpful for making what I do better. And my ideas and my business strategies, the more I give it, the better it's got at actually responding to things, because it's got that more knowledge. So one prompt to try this week. My goal is to, whatever your business goal is, I want you to act as a strategic growth expert by helping me identify alternatives we could consider to drive growth. Interview me asking one question at a time. I love that sentence, I type it out far too often. But I don't want it to give me 15 questions to answer at once. I want it to just do one and keep going until it gets there. Once you have sufficient context, give me your recommendations listed by order of priority. The bit I should have highlighted there, explain why, gives a much better result than just saying, tell me what the options are, because it has to think about why it's offering. So, key things there, interview one question at a time and explain the answers. And then the other bit is tell me what it wants to pay as a strategic growth expert, a financial director, whatever it might be. Context. The first time I mentioned context here, and I could do a whole presentation on context. Context is the key to AI working well. It's the information you give AI so it understands you, your role, business, how you want to do things. It's all this stuff we keep up here that when we then bring an employee, we have to try and instill it in them. So you have core values and tone of voice and all those sorts of things that you try to tell an employee. Yet most people playing with AI seem to think AI is going to guess that information without giving it to them. So there's a lot of work being done around context engineering, which is about collating that information about you and putting it into some sort of format that AI can use. If you want more information on that, ask your AI tool and it can explain it in a bit more detail, so we don't have time today. Okay, and idea 3. Building your brand voice. This plays on this whole idea of context. If you just want to ask it just to write something, it usually comes out very generic, very boring, flat, and everybody knows what it is, and it shoves emojis in everywhere. And if you're not careful, it writes all in American English. But a tone of voice document. This was a thing that branding marketing people love. And I'll be perfectly honest, I had one done and it sat on file and I've never used it again. You went through all that effort trying to work out how you want to present it, but then never worked out how to implement it. With AI, that's a really key document to actually have. It's nothing complicated, it's a text file that says who you are, how do you want to sound, the different variations of if you do it on social media versus an email versus a proposal, the words you do and don't like to use. So certainly put in there saying always use UK English, but also there's some words that are words in your industry, your business, you're never going to make use of. And just put those in there and keep this as a living document. It's not a document, although a marketing person might help you write it, this isn't a document that a marketing person is going to do and will never touch again. This is something you go back in and you keep editing and updating. And it might start off really short and then it'll get longer over time. And if you're not sure, the good thing to do is, again, ask your favourite AI tool to say, I want you to help me create a tone of voice suitable for AI. Can you interview me, asking one question at a time to get information? You get the idea. It can produce that. The other one I've stuck up here, because it is related, is personas. And personas, again, it's something that marketing people have talked about for years and have been used in marketing, but realistically in business, we haven't used them for anything else, I feel. Big companies do, but small businesses, we never get around to it. So a persona can be your customers, your investors, your staff, your board. I did hear of one company, I can't remember what podcast, the book, really. They had from their board was very contentious, always arguing. They did some very detailed interviews with every board member to create so much that was wrong. And then before every board meeting, they would feed in the presentation tab and ask it to find any questions or any thoughts that each of the personas might come up with. And then they could go back and edit it before they went to the meeting. And they said that that made life much easier, far less contentious, and far likely to get things pushed through. They had a bit of feedback loop in there, but they would take the transcript of the actual meeting, speed it in, and improve the personas as they went along. So every meeting, it got better and better at working with people wanted. Personas, there's loads of things you include there. I put in there who is the person, what is their background, and you can be fairly specific with this. You're using this to try and get the area to understand who this person is. What's the things important to them? Look at what their interests are. What are their pain points? All of those sorts of things are useful to put into personas. The more detail you put in there, the more accurate his answers are going to be. So I had one person talking that they try to make sure all their personas are around 1,200 words to 1,800 words long. I can't say any of mine are that long, that detailed, but it's a starting point, and again, you can keep adding to them. Customers is the easy one. Pick 2 or 3 of your best customers, do personas. Actually, specifically that person, don't include their name, but who are they? What are their interests inside work, outside work? Do they have a family? Like a family? All of these things that you can add in, and it will help. Again, you can use your tool to help you interview you to build those. Just review them afterwards and add small stuff on them. So I'm going to throw in here quickly. There's various lists out there, but these are my things for actually when you're doing tone of voice things to include. I'm sure there are many others. M dashes. I hadn't realised how much I used them until people started knowing that AI uses them a lot. And so now I just tell it to never use an M dash. Because it's really awful. People think that anytime you see an M dash, AI has written it. Varying sentence length. AI can be very good at making every sentence exactly the same length. Humans don't read or write that. So actually telling it, can you vary the sentence length? It's not a bad thing to then put in your tone of voice. Avoid the, not this, it's that. Get a bit of M dash in there, but anyway, you don't want it to hit its bets, which is further down as well. You want it just to get to the point. Avoid cliches. Obviously, cliches exist for a reason. They've been lots of popular. There've been lots of reading, therefore AI has been trained on them, but realistically, we don't tend to use them when we're writing blog posts or emails. Well, it's possible blog post you might a bit more than an email. You're not going to put cliches in there. Maximum of 1 buzzword a page. You don't want to just keep stuffing the whole content with buzzwords. And no hedging. So all things you can put in tone of voices, there's stuff I've got in there. There is many more things you put in there. A whole list of I never want to use these words or try to use these instead. All of those sorts of things. So we've taken the transcript of the meeting. Well, we've had the meeting, taken the transcript. It's Fireflies or something else. We can have conversations about how we then get through to the end. And this is the bit that a lot of people miss with AI, is it actually can be a workflow. You do one thing, then the next thing, then the next thing, you add on to it. So meeting happens, you create a transcript. You take that, you add your tone of voice document to it. You then use that against an AI prompt, and you can start then producing something slightly more useful. I now, by meeting with clients, quite often I will start off by actually getting the AI to research the company. Part 1. Create the agenda, part 2. I'll do the meeting, put the transcript back in, I'm free, for 8 minutes, or then correct the handover and whatever else I want to do. But each time I'm adding into the same conversation the bits that I'm doing, because then it's got all that context of the research about the company.
So you're just using one of the chats you started. You're not using something different in the AI at all, right?
No, where things have changed in recent years, the chats can have a lot more context. Basically, they can go for a lot longer before they get to the point where they start being a little bit in.
Right. Okay.
So that makes it much easier to have these slightly longer chats. And using AI to do the research, it's what you do. You went off and looked at the website, researched, and then you had a meeting, and then people are feeding the meeting in without any context, and the AI is giving them not the answers they wanted. Just didn't give it the information. You didn't tell it what it wanted to do. So, research prompt. There are various research prompts, and to be honest, I have got one research prompt for new companies, and it's like a page long. AI helped write it, I think, but I made a very short one for this. So I'm looking to work with name, location, website, whatever. You need AI to be able to find the right company. Perform deep research with this company and create a detailed company profile to provide background during our proposal writing. Give us the context of why you want it. You can then shove in transcripts, meetings, emails, whatever else you can feed it to get a better profile. And then get it to create handover documents. Of course, so basically a document you can pass from one element to the other. I also refer to as company context documents. I've got those for clients, and it's about, we spoke about earlier, this context engineering of trying to collate everything together so it's actually got what it needs rather than trying to understand everything. So yeah, do the research. Then give it same prompt, same conversations, describe the meeting, what you're trying to do, act as a senior writer, or sales person, whatever it might be, create a proposal, follow-up email, pitch, highlights the unique value, attach the profile, the brief, whatever else you fed it up to that point. Interview me, asking one question at a time. Once you have information, I want you to craft that document. You've got your tone of voice in there, you've got your customer personas in there. And it can use all of that information to start giving you a much better result, what you're actually asking to do. It's this sort of thing that you'll do. The first one might be hopefully be okay, and you'll learn from that, and the next one will be better and better, and you'll improve over time. But some of the research, if you've got a detailed profile of each of your clients, you can use that every time you do something with them, and it will understand about what you're holding in your head about that client, because you're actually feeding it that information. And then that last bit about Challenger. So you've got, before you send it off, I want you to act as this persona. Analyze this document, highlight any areas that might be misunderstood, lack of detail or ambiguous, challenge my preconceptions and biases. It's really interesting the sorts of things it picks up on sometimes that you've just never really considered. If you had a nice big team, we always used to do this. We used to feed it to other people in the business and say, what does this make sense? But really their view is going to be very similar to your views. It's not going to pick up everything. Much better to just use AI challenging. You've got those personas, you can make use of that. So this sort of workflow works not just for proposals. I've used it for various different things. If I'm doing a blog, I will usually start off with interviewing myself, where I'll literally just give a brainstorm of what I want to cover. Put it into Fireflies, take it out of Fireflies, put it into AI tools. Here's my, this is the goals I want to do. Here's all my notes. Create me an outline, then create me the content using my tone of voice. And you do all of that, and then get it to review it to see if there's anything that's wrong or how your customers might actually understand it. So all sorts of things. We talked earlier about people using board reports, proposals, blogs, marketing. It's the same process again and again and again, and you can just keep that conversation going and much better. Hopefully with the AI tools, they're starting at the point where some people have got one chat specifically for like all their daily briefings that they use AI to review all their emails every day. And they're starting to go back to that chat every day because builds up context over time of understanding what they're doing, rather than every day starting completely from scratch. Once you've got it there though, AI goal should be get AI to get you to 50–60% of the way there. Then you need to be the one to review it and make it better. Humans still have a place. There is a lot of trash, rubbish, whatever you want to call it, being thrown out all the time. And actually take that time to review it, you can make things a lot better, and then you can feed that back into AI to make things even more useful. So, one of the extra things I just want to throw in here, custom instructions. Most of the AI tools, Copilot, ChatGPT, and Claude, you can have memories and tell it how you want it to communicate with you. You'll find that most of the AIs by default are very agreeable, and every idea you give them is a good idea. Number of emails I get from clients going, AI's told me I should be doing this. So actually, this is something I put in there, and I said I'll put this on a handout, so we'll get it emailed out probably, so you can actually access this. But you basically give it some instructions, so I don't want it just to be a yes person. So focus on providing clear, accurate responses without going into lots of details, unless asked to do so. If I've asked it a quick question, I don't need a 3-page answer. I'm not going to read it. I spend my life reading things, so I want to pay attention. Responses should be objective, strategic, and grounded in truth, without making things up. Really obvious, but it does make a difference. Provide precise, prioritized plans for changes in thought, action, or mindset to help you reach the next level, pushing forward with growth all the time. Point out self-deception, avoidance, or wasted time, and explain opportunity cost. Let's face it, we all like to think that every idea is a good idea. They're not all going to be good ideas. This is a good way of trying to push back on some of them. If my reasoning is weak, dissect it and explain why. Challenge my thinking, question my assumptions, expose blind spots, provide direct, rational, unfiltered advice instead of being agreeable. I put this in, and sometimes I use Copilot a lot and Claude. Sometimes it can be a bit brutal. You're thinking, I really thought that was a good idea. Really push you back. But luckily, no one else ever needs to know you've had that conversation. I did have one at a client who wasn't paying their bills, and it was getting very difficult conversations. I sent an email back. Well, I wrote it first of all, stuck it into AM. What do you think? Can I go? See what you're trying to do here. You might antagonise the situation further. Okay, yes. Can I suggest we do this instead? Yes. That's not going to relieve my frustration, but it's probably going to be better from a business sense. And actually, no one else was working at the time. It was a Saturday afternoon. This was a good way of actually doing it. So, well worth spend that few minutes and just get your AI to remember not to do these things. And you can just get them to say to it, I need you to remember not to do this or not to do that. And it will add it to its memory itself a lot. And it should remember. So, where to go next? There are plenty of AI trainings out there. The government's doing a training program for everybody for AI. It's how they're going to keep up with the content. I don't know what did, but they're attempting it. Microsoft Learn, if you're a Microsoft 365 customer, it's what people are. There is a lot of training they've produced on how to actually make use of it. OpenAI produced an academy recently. There are going to be many more solutions out there that are coming along. People are trying to make the most of this. So let's try first. Microsoft, if you're a 365 customer, Copilot is a quick and easy win because it's now got the combination of OpenAI and Anthropic in the same platform. And actually, it's not you don't have to think about security, but a lot of the security considerations are a lot easier than if you were to just use one of the tools independently. And
what level are you getting? Are you getting the pro version in Pilot of Claude, for example?
There is, it depends on different areas. So they use Claude, for example, for a lot of the Word, Excel, PowerPoint work.
Right.
They use it for Claude Co-work is now built into Copilot as well, as of about 2 weeks ago as a trial. They've got, but like Claude Co-work, what they've done, so Co-work is a tool that Anthropic did where you can then do very long running tasks like, I want you to go off and research all of this and create 15 documents and then review all the documents and basically combine everything and talk back into one process. Because that's access to the internet and access to your computer and skills, it can become a bit of the Wild West, but you might have some problems. There have been some cases where people have lost a lot because of it. When Microsoft brought Co-work into Copilot, they basically cut it back quite a long way. So it's on a dedicated virtual machine, only the files you can get access to, which is what we recommend anyway. Then it doesn't allow more than 20 skills at the moment, and the skills can't call external scripts and things, which you can do with Claude. So they cut it back and they will extend it further, I suspect, once they've worked out how to make it more secure. So it's not very front end leading the way, but it's slightly behind a month or two, but actually you get that little bit extra security in place. ChatGPT, Claude Pro, yes. Working with a couple of books. The AI-Driven Leader by Jeff Woods. I found a really good book. It's all about strategy and how you use AI to help strategy. 2034, How AI Changed Humanity Forever. It's a really short book. It's about 2 hours to read, 2.5 hours. It's looking back on as if it was 2034, looking back on the last 10 years. It is fiction. But what's really interesting, it takes like one area at a time, like healthcare or education, and it talks about what theoretically happened. And I found it really helpful to think about different areas and how AI might be involved in different industries. Because it just sort of lays out what this happened and that happened, and then we ended up with this result. There are various ones people writing books all the time. Of course, they are, because AI means that they can keep writing books much quicker. I'm not saying they're more useful, but I noticed this will be shorter, a lot of them now. I reckon because they are. But those are a couple of good books. There is another one I would recommend to some people, which is Becoming Wave, which is not just about AI, it's also about a lot of other technology that's coming and how that's going to impact on what we're all doing. So, I would say pick one of these ideas, try them out with it, keep going. Don't try to cut everything off, just keep persevering with it. It can work, it's just sometimes a case of going, how does it make it work for you? And don't chase the tool, don't keep going after every new thing people are shouting about. You'll never succeed until you do. Any questions?
You tried any of the Chinese-based AI models?
Why? Why? Because first of all, I don't need to.
Okay.
I've got everything I need to do. I've got a combination of, I already pay rather too much, I think sometimes, but I've got Copilot that I'm paying for, which is tied into all my 365. I've got Claude, which I use for doing all of the coding and some of the more technical work, and I'm paying £150 a month for that one. I've got ChatGPT that I use for certain things. I'm happy with how all those work. I have got no reason to start putting my data into the Chinese models because I can do everything I need to do anyway.
There's a lot of I feel a lot of FOMO. I feel like I should be using it to do more. I just don't know what to do, what to ask it to do. And you surround yourself with people that are, I've built this workflow, I've built that, I've done this, I've done that. I'm like, I haven't done any of that. So, and I'm thinking, what? Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. It's difficult to discover. But I suppose you just go to, what are you trying to do? Grow a business, get more customers, try to sell more things. And I suppose it's just going back to the basics.
Going back to the basics, why I wanted to cover strategy. Well, I appreciate it, very brief, but use AI to talk about AI.
Right.
It might overthink what it can do, but challenge it. Why do you think that's going to be good for my business? No, that's not going to work because my customers are like this. Oh, okay, in which case, but just keep pushing back with it and it will give you some ideas. Oddly, there is no one you can classify as a master at AI.
Yeah.
To be a master, you need 10,000 hours. That's the whole tradition, isn't it? AI hasn't been around long enough or been stable enough for long enough for anybody to improve that number of hours. Everybody is just learning as they go. The only difference is some people spend more time playing it than others.
I've been using Gemini very successfully.
Yep.
Not that often, like a couple of times a week, and it's fantastic. I just use it in a web browser, so I'm just simple text boxes, input and output. If I've got my tone of voice document and my this document and my that document, do I just cut and paste the text into those boxes, or should I find a different UI? Or?
Okay, so bring that back briefly, just so people online can hear it. But yes, if you've got, so using Gemini and using it in the web browser, and if you've got those tone of voice documents, how do you get them in there? Drag and drop on documents. You can usually attach things to the chats. So
every new chat, you can't have it as in a master chat.
yeah, so there are some of the platforms where I put in master chat,
Okay.
or sort of memory is defined it. I always find it better if I really wanted to use that specific tone of voice or that persona, drag it in or tell it, use this file.
Right.
Because then it's not going to just try and find broad speaking files. It'll be that what you actually want it to be.
Sometimes when I'm trying to use ChatGPT specifically at the moment, I've been trying to build sort of a rolling forecast for ordering based off of last year's demand, factoring in growth, that kind of thing. Maths, it does seem to fall down on quite a lot. It makes a lot of rounding errors, especially when you're trying to get down to the nitty-gritty. But also I find that sometimes it almost trends too far down a certain pathway, and I really struggle to get it back. And sort of, if it just will consistently keep doing the same thing wrong, I keep trying to pull it out, and just have you got any tips for how to?
Well, first of all, supposedly the latest model 5.5 or whatever is supposed to be getting better at following instructions for those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Give it a go. Sometimes it could be information looking at, so I break the problem down at the starting point.
Yeah.
Here's my raw data. My end goal is to get to a model. What other information or assumptions do you need from me in the first place?
Yeah.
Break that down, get that information, and then get it started driving it through.
Yeah.
I will say Claude is much better at working with, for example, like an Excel document. That's why Microsoft, as of November, signed a deal with it.
It's embedded now into
Yeah.
Excel, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Basically, they realised that for what they're worth, ChatGPT or OpenAI haven't been very good at working with Excels and Word, so they've put it in there, and some of that has got a lot better at working with those sorts of files. But yeah, I'll break it down into smaller chunks.
Yeah.
Before you get the results.
Yeah, because sometimes it just sort of runs away with itself and you can't really get it back.
And that's the thing, I mean, they are getting better. The biggest problem is the amount of data you feed it. So context, as I mentioned, there is this window of how much information AI can hold on to at one time before it starts making real mistakes. So about a year ago, it was about 100,000 tokens. Doesn't matter what, but it was basically there was a range of that. We're now at 10 times that level. What tends to happen is as it approaches that limit, you get more hallucinations, so it makes things up. Or you struggle to bring it back into conversation you had much earlier.
Yeah.
So the pro accounts, the higher paid ones, tend to have these larger windows, but all of them are increasing all the time. That should make it a lot easier to use as time, isn't it?
I have a bit of follow-up question to that, which is, I guess, you talked about deterministic versus non-deterministic. That feels to me a little bit more like a deterministic use case. So in that case, would you actually maybe not try and use ChatGPT? You only use code, I guess, to build a dashboard.
Well, I'm trying to use it to build a spreadsheet.
Right.
For the deterministic workflow.
So talking about there, just got people online, we were talking about whether if you're building forecasting, if that's deterministic, non-deterministic, whether you should be using AI for it. As I said, I would look at it, what's the same there is use AI to help you create the model and then repeat the model.
Yeah.
So get to create the Excel, you feed it that information rather than it all the time.
Okay, just a comment from online. It's been very helpful. Thank you. I wish I had more questions. The presentation has confirmed many of them, like should I probe how to respond to me? So basically reiterating, and I believe this goes on the back of if you allow it to tell you what you want it, you want to hear, it's going to give you that back. And there was once a question, it was almost likened to a sandwich. You give it the prompts at the beginning, you get the content of the sandwich, and then you have to put you have to close it off by checking it afterwards. So in other words, like a sound is an analogy that was used in the past. Would you suggest that's a sort of easy way?
Well, first of all, you always need to check it.
Yeah.
You can now, on that whole point of checking, what's starting to happen more is people are using two separate models, one to do the work, one to do the checking. Because they're now getting cheaper and they're easier to do that. So as an example, I talk about Microsoft a lot because we do a lot with Microsoft, but Microsoft Researcher, up until about a month ago, they used GPT models and it's progressively got better and better. And it does some really great research work. Doesn't mean it's always right. They've now just rolled it out that they can use Claude to read that research and check it and challenge the AI models. They kind of have this debate between them. So the idea is by the time you get to the end, it should be more accurate.
I've said mine completely different to it sounds like we've got standalone models where I've heard a Llama or open router. So basically I've got kind of all my models working and saving everything into Superbase. So if you I found that a much better way of doing it. So whatever the task is, it chooses kind of the Claude or ChatGPT or whatever is best for that particular job. And when it learns, and it kind of saves it to Superbase. And does that?
Yeah, it's the model. So you're talking about what's called a model. So
OpenClaw. Yeah.
So for the purpose, what we're talking about here is people using Llama and OpenClaw to select the right model for the right task.
Yes.
Yes, if you're trying to get very fine-grained changes between what you're doing, then different models can work for different areas. OpenClaw is a fantastic tool.
Yeah.
Incredibly risky.
Yeah, I've set up standalone Mac Mini.
Separate machines.
Separate machines.
Separate machines. I've had people want to install it on their actual machine. I know it's no. So OpenClaw, in respect, it's became really popular in January, February time, and it's a tool, open source, so completely free. You can run on a device and is very good at creating agents or doing agentic work. And you can supply it different models for doing different parts of it. I do not recommend it for anybody who is feeling really comfortable with technology and stuff because it's very easy to make horrible mistakes. So for what you're doing, if you're happy doing it, then carry on doing it. But other people don't worry, you have to go, that's complicated. There's plenty of steps to get through before you start worrying about that.
Yeah.
Any other questions from online? Any question in the room?
No, okay. We'll wrap it up then. Thanks very much for that, John. That was extremely I've done a couple of these in the past. There's always something new that I learn myself personally, and I'm hoping the online people enjoyed it also. Again, as I've stated on the chat, guys, if there's any questions, put them through now, and we'll get them asked in live for you. With regards to our other events, I invite you to follow our Eventbrite page. It's always being updated with new events, but as it's so we've got 5 more minutes. So this is the portion where I say goodbye to the online participants and the people in the room. We'll do some networking as necessary. Thank you very much for participating.